Hi, y'all, and welcome to the Rookie Adult Podcast, where I unpack all the chaos of my young adult life as a Catholic college student. I'm your host, Kylie, and today I'm really excited because not only is this a new guest for y'all, but he's a new guest for me too, and I'm getting to hear a little bit about his story. He's from Colorado originally, went to school in Colorado as well, but is now serving as a residence director in Southwest Florida at a university. And so we're super excited to have him on. Please welcome to the show, Chad.
Thank you.
How are you doing? It's spring break.
It is spring break. It is peaceful on campus.
Yeah. So did you stay this whole break?
Yeah.
Like, are you able to leave or no?
Yeah, we would just have to put time off in order to leave. But I mean, it's generally far easier for us to leave on breaks like this.
Oh, okay.
Our little one is just in the middle of kind of sleep training time, teething. Yeah. So we were like, well, we actually spontaneously booked a trip to go to Italy. But then we canceled it because we were like, well, we have a 6-month-old, and so we should probably make sure she can sleep well before we go wander a little bit. That's fun. Are y'all spontaneous like that, you and your wife, or was that something different? We're not spontaneous, I wouldn't say. We are rather kind of structured. I think that routine brings a lot of freedom to relationships and just to kind of one's own pursuits. That being said, though, we are adventurous. We enjoy kind of the wandering. I think one of the things that I think attracted my wife to me was that when I lived downtown, or not downtown, but in Denver, just outside of Denver, I was building a tiny home in my backyard of this rental house. And I think she liked that.
Yeah, she's like, that's it.
I was like, all right, well, that's great.
That's good, yeah. Not everyone can build a tiny home, so she was probably thinking he's a handyman, he knows, architecturally speaking.
Yes, maybe.
That's
hopefully.
Good. Yeah. Speaking of your wife, so you are from Colorado. Is she also from Colorado, or is she from this area where?
Yeah, so she was born in Mississippi, but grew up the majority of her life in Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Did she go to school with you? Where did you go to school specifically? And then did she go to school there with you?
Yeah, so we did not go to school together.
Okay.
She did her undergraduate here at Ave.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she loved her time here.
That's good.
Out of high school, I started at CU Boulder. I dropped out, spent about a year down in Peru working.
Incredible,
which was great. It was difficult, and I grew an immense amount. But came back, was in the seminary for a time. Okay. Left.
Very nice.
And then wandered some more.
You like the wandering, yeah.
I seem to be good at that. Yes. Ultimately, ended up finishing my undergrad at a smaller school just outside of Denver called Regis University.
Okay. What did you study there?
I studied English and Spanish.
Nice. Okay, so you're a language guy.
I like languages.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would consider myself a language guy, but I think, Umberto Eco in his novel, The Name of the Rose, he discusses a little bit, it's a fiction work, but he discusses a little bit how a language authentically is the entrance into a culture. And that I think I experienced this firsthand once I was able to actually speak Spanish down in Peru and then also in Spain. That is the means by which to create relationships, and culture comes through the relationships. Yeah. Whether that's with artifacts and books, or whether it's actually people.
Yeah. That's incredible. So I studied abroad in Rome, and so I learned Italian in preparation for that, and then while I was there from an Italian instructor. And you're so right. It's the coolest thing ever because you feel actually immersed, and people are willing to talk with you, and some are even able to help you, because it was very much a learning experience. And you go out on a limb to hopefully I think this is right.
It's so vulnerable, the experience. I remember sitting in the kind of the area where we would eat dinner in Peru, and I would kind of just hope that nobody would ask me a question because I knew that I wasn't going to understand it. Or even understand that it was a question. Maybe it was a statement. I don't know.
Inflection got paid attention.
Yeah. No, it's so true. There's something so radically vulnerable about engaging in that, but being capable of doing that again like when I was in Spain, I spent a summer studying in Spain, and I lived there with a family, and the family, I mean, feels like they're my second family, you know, because the mother is one of the few people in the entire country who's going to actually be willing to correct your language.
Yes, yeah.
And you know that she'll do it because she loves you, you know, which everybody else. I don't know, it's almost like they don't love you enough to be willing to correct you.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah.
Do you still, as a side note, keep in touch with that family at all? Do you know what they're up to?
Oh, I do know what they're up to. We don't keep in touch well, I would say. We've done kind of various exchanges. Two other brothers of that family have been down and stayed with my family.
Cool.
Yeah, my brother spent 6 years studying in Spain, so
wow.
we kind of
That's
just,
incredible.
you know.
You guys are all travelers. You are, like, wanderers? Or is that maybe just you and your brother, like?
Yeah, I mean, my sister's a little bit more rooted.
Okay.
Probably. Yeah, when we were growing up, I think my parents took us on trips, and we I guess stopped fearing the sense of insecurity as much that you kind of bear when you walk into a new city that may not even speak your language. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I am. I understand that well. That's really cool, though, that you didn't have that fear anymore.
Well, I don't know if
a little less.
Yes, a little less. Far more willing to engage in it.
Yeah. Okay, so that was at your undergrad, I guess, kind of, because, like, I don't know you super well, and I've always heard, like, really good things about you. And I was like, I think he'd be a good man to, like, know. But what is a little bit of your story as far as how did you come to know your wife if you didn't go to school together? I'll ask first, how did you come to know your wife?
Yeah.
Long story.
Well, it's an unusual story. I'll tell you that.
Okay.
But then again, I feel like, so I'll preface it with this. I'm convinced that the Lord wants to invite us to radically different things than we have in mind for ourselves. We who live in kind of like the modern world are so used to having everything planned. Either we plan it or it's planned for us. I just don't think that's not how God works, right? Mother Teresa has a quote, which I'm going to butcher, but I'm going to give it a paraphrase. It's something like, unless you're willing to do kind of the absurd, the foolish, God can't do the great with you, right? So I think when I was in college that first time, and I felt like I was invited to go to Peru. I felt like I was being invited just, not really to Peru, but just to say yes to this thing that I didn't know where it was going to take me. And I feel like I began to develop the habit of saying yes to things, and it has, you know, opened up many different doors, because I never thought that I would be a residence director for. I don't think anyone grows up thinking like, I would have run the door.
I was gonna say that was gonna be my second question. We'll get to that later.
But yeah, so my journey with kind of my wife, meeting her, I had dated some girls in Denver, and it just kind of wasn't right. I think there was an experience of like in my head, oh, this should all work out. Like on paper, like as a syllogism, you know, we would equal something that would work. But it just wasn't present in my heart. And so I was like, well, I can't do this. Well, so my sister, who works at she did work at this, it was a women's clinic at the time.
Okay, very nice.
Which is to say that she worked with a lot of different, she was a nurse practitioner. She worked with a lot of different nurses and a lot of different patients, and they're all women. And I was like, all right.
This is my clientele.
I was like, okay, like, you know, Devin is her name. I was like, you know, who do you got for me? Really?
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, there's this one girl. She's my medical assistant. You would love her. She's great. I was like, okay, great. When do I get to meet her? And so we tried to set up a brunch. But lo and behold, my now wife did not want to come to the brunch at the time. And so, which I was kind of like, you know, like, that's fine. You don't know me. But she had, you know, she had a lot on her plate. She was about to leave Colorado to go to Tennessee to start a nursing program.
Wow.
And it was a 13-month program, which is to say, it's like boot camp,
Yeah, that seems
So
extensive.
she was like, yeah, I don't want to
Yeah.
get involved.
Yeah.
I don't want to start anything long distance. I don't even want to be tempted.
yeah.
So she left, a couple months go by, come back to my sister. I'm like, all right, who's new? Who do you got? And she's like, Chad, I don't think you would like anybody here. Hundreds of girls coming through, but you would really like that girl who went to Tennessee. And, I was like, that doesn't help me very much.
I was going to say, not much consolation.
But the thing is that my sister knows me well. We're close. And the fact that I think it's common to want to be set up with your friend, just because they're two single people and I like both of you.
Yeah.
But that wasn't sufficient for me.
Yeah.
But the fact that she kind of really felt compelled, that I was like, among all of the women who come through this door, it's not these women, it's that woman. That really
stuck with you.
it did. Yeah. And so I ended up getting LASIK. I was outside listening to Beethoven's Pastoral with the dark cloth over my eyes, and I was like, you know what, I should just write her a letter.
Yeah.
Because
Revelation.
the answer is no. Exactly, right?
Yeah.
In the darkness.
Yeah.
The answer is no, unless you ask. It's no previously, and if you ask, it could be no again, but nothing's changed. So
That's good. Yeah.
so ask, right? And I think that goes along for most of the opportunities in our lives. Like, it's no until we knock on the door.
Yeah.
So knock.
That's very
And
true.
only then, if the door opens, do we have the choice to then walk through.
Right.
So that's what I did. I sent a letter. It got there in the middle of a snowstorm, and it took her 6 weeks to write back. And so I was like convinced that she wasn't writing back. But yeah, we wrote letters for, 4 to 5 months. I can't remember the exact time. She came out. We kind of started, actually had a date.
Yeah.
Met each other, and we ultimately started dating long distance. And then she moved to Chattanooga, which was about 4 hours from where she went to school.
Okay.
And then I moved to Chattanooga because
Just
she
for
was
her.
there, and I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, there are a few things worth following in this life,
Yeah.
So
Now, were you currently working, or is this right after college? Okay, were you working in Colorado?
yeah.
Okay, and then you were like, I'm quitting, I'm doing everything and moving to Chattanooga.
Yeah, I was, at the time I was working for a women's shelter it wasn't a women's shelter, it was an urban farm that was being prepared to be organized to take in women who are survivors of sex trafficking to help them reintegrate into society.
Wow.
A buddy of mine, a really good man who I've known since I was in Boulder, started this up. And I was working as a commercial electrician previous to that, and he invited me. He was like, hey, do you want to just take care of the property, prepare the farm,
That's incredible.
So I started doing that
Okay.
until I was like, well, I'm leaving.
I have to follow my bride.
Yes, exactly.
And then, okay, so then how long were you guys dating there in Chattanooga? And did you know moving to Chattanooga? Did you know this is who I'm going to marry already? Or were you just saying yes and going out a little bit on a whim?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if you've had this experience, but before I went to Peru, I met with the priest who was in charge of kind of, the year of experience that I would have there. I met with him just to see what it was about, and I left that, and I was kind of had this premonition of I'm going to go to Peru. I need to go to Peru.
Yeah.
Well, after our first date, I left with this premonition of there was a lot to our first date, because we had written letters, but we also were we're meeting for the first time.
Yeah.
But you kind of know the other person, but not really.
Yeah.
I kind of left with that premonition of this could be the girl that I want to marry. And that kind of resides nonetheless. But I think that through the entirety of the relationship, the image that I always use is, for better or for worse, it is God's calling His chosen people forth from Egypt, right?
Yeah.
When they finally kind of are all right, we're ready to go, and Pharaoh says be gone, they're following God's, the pillar of fire and the cloud, out into what appears to them to be an apparent impossibility.
Yeah.
They're led straight to, I mean, it's not like they don't see the Red Sea coming.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
They know that that's exactly where they're going. And for them, that means impossibility. That means we're trapped.
Yeah.
But we're not called to kind of overcome necessarily the troubles and the obstacles that are before us. We're called to be faithful to God who calls us into those troubles, right? Into those obstacles. And so I think when I was dating my wife, contrary to all the other girls who I dated, where I was like, this just makes sense.
Yeah.
I would date my wife and I was like, gosh, I love this woman. But these are things that I just don't understand how they're going to, like, how are we going to work all these practicals out? Well, we're not necessarily, that's not our job. If the Israelites thought that was their job, well, they wouldn't have ever followed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We ain't gotten very far.
Exactly. Which, I mean, it took them a while anyway.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like very much so through our relationship. I very much was like, the yes is constantly to this, like, I'm always discerning, like, what is the Lord doing in me? And where ought my yes to be? And I'm saying yes to that. I'm not saying yes to this future thing that doesn't exist, that I can't even say yes to, right? Because only there will the Lord be able to lead you to those places where He will open His spaces and you will walk in, you know?
Yeah.
But we have to trust Him, and His timeline is not our timeline.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah. Wow. And so then from Tennessee, is that then y'all moved down here to Ave? Is there anything in between?
Well, so yeah, we were in Tennessee. And then, yeah, so when we were in Tennessee, Sarah Beth ended up getting pretty sick with Lyme. And by pretty sick, I mean she got really sick. So she was basically bedridden for, after we got married, we were just outside of Chattanooga. I was working, doing electrical, and she was mostly in bed for probably the next 6 or 7 months.
Wow.
And she was seeing these different doctors, and we're trying to figure out what to do. You know, that's just not quite how you envision the beginning of your marriage. It's just this glorious thing that has, all of a sudden you're like, I don't even know what to do here, you know? And you're very quickly plunged into the
depths of
like what are my vows? What were the things that I said, and how do I live that out here? Because this is really hard, especially kind of the shattering of the expectation that you thought marriage was going to be.
Yes.
And so we were there, and we very quickly realized that, so the house that we were living in was like really cute little apartment over a garage space that was on somebody's farm.
Okay.
It was awesome. But it had mold, and it was like literally just annihilating my wife.
Yes.
And so we ended up, I took kind of an extended period of time over Christmas. We went to Colorado over Christmas, and then we went down, and her parents had moved to Ave.
Oh.
And so we came down here for New Year's, and we were planning on moving to Colorado right after that.
Okay.
And as we were down here, we didn't want to move here.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
We had discussed it a little bit, and we kind of laughed at the prospect.
You're like, no, that won't happen.
Yeah, put it very, very far aside.
Yeah.
And so, so when we actually ended up, when we were down here, she drove me to the airport because we basically decided you can't spend more time in our house if it's affecting this. So she drove me to the airport, and I was going to go put my 2 weeks in. We were going to drive to Colorado, and she said, hey, I think I feel better here. What do you think about moving here? And I was like, hey, why, you know? But yeah, I prayed about it. And I came to realize that, like, you know, when we, you know, there's all the niceties of like self-gift and of self-sacrifice and like, you know, like men want to be men and lay their lives down. That's a really, you know, it's a great thing. It is kind of how we come to maturation, but like if you're under any pretense that it's going to be easy, you're wrong.
That's very wrong.
And so I packed up our house.
Wow.
And then she flew out, and we basically kind of started, and we drove to Florida.
Wow.
Well, we were down here for a time, being helped out by her parents, when the house that kind of we were in for that time ended up also having mold. And so like she was starting to do better, and then she kind of like descended pretty sharply. So then we spent the summer out in Colorado, and it was very much so. I like kind of felt like Joseph, where you're like, all right, where are we going next?
I'm not putting my roots down because I have a feeling we're gonna move a little bit.
Yeah, we're like, we were looking into like vans. I was like, I could buy a van and remodel it. I don't know, I could keep that space clean, I think. I don't know. It was a hard time though. Yeah. And then when we took the RD position, they actually let us kind of live in the space in the apartment for a week. So that, because she pretty quickly can tell if there's mold in a space.
Interesting.
And so we were like, all right, well, if it's clean, we'll take it.
Interesting. And it was clean.
And it was clean.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have a good friend growing up. Her father, for a long time, they couldn't figure out what was wrong. Because Lyme comes in a lot of different forms and a lot of different symptoms, from what I understand. And so growing up, we had this dad that just struggled a lot, and they thought it was different things. And then lo and behold, Lyme is what was kind of behind it all. It's a very interesting sickness.
It's so fascinating, so elusive.
Yes, that's a good word for it.
Because it can replicate as almost any other.
Yes.
And manifest itself as any other disease.
Yes.
And honestly, it's really difficult for a long time. I don't know where the kind of officials stand on this disease, but for a long time they didn't recognize that it was actually kind of an illness. They said you can have Lyme, which is only the period about 2 to 3 weeks when you have that bullseye after being bit by a tick. And then after that period, if you have any symptoms following that, you have post-Lyme, which they consider to be purely psychological. Which is really difficult, especially for the people suffering the illness, because they find themselves already doubting whether what they feel is real. And so when you're being told it's not real, it's psychological, go see a counselor, it is denying the very thing that you know to be true. But if you can't name it, right? Like Adam names the animals, and he actually is given power over those animals, right? And authority. If we can't name the thing that's inflicting itself upon us, I mean, we have a difficult time even in recognizing if it's real.
Yeah.
So it was a whole thing,
Yeah.
And how is she doing now?
She is doing so much better.
So good.
We've had a journey, and the Lord has been so good to us.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And y'all welcomed a little one, a baby girl.
Yes.
6 months ago. Is that just about?
Just about 6 months.
How has that been? Just being a new parent, a life very dependent on both y'all.
Yeah. Life is so good. Children bring such dynamism, such beauty, and there's something so wonderful about kind of the gaze of love that's present in their eyes. I mean, everybody recognizes that as indescribable. So I won't even try. But
yes, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is so good. And I think that the practice of the self-gift and the demand on yourself, they bear such fruit in that sort of a relationship.
Yeah.
So.
I was going to say, we welcomed in December the 7th grandchild for my parents. So we have both boys and girls, and my sister has 4. And then both my brothers, one has a boy and a girl, and then the one just welcomed their baby girl in December. And it's just so funny because all my siblings are in their 30s, much older. So my parents had the 3 kids, and then 10 years later, I came along. And so it's very funny to see them in this phase of life, in parenthood, and just, it's very much indescribable. Like just the child, like there's a whole life in that little person, which is just something Just something crazy.
Yes. And yeah, I think that the way that we live our lives oftentimes is contrary to the space that you need to give yourself well to a little one, right? There is no multitasking with a child.
Yes.
They demand everything. They want your whole person, all of your attention, right? And when you begin to fragment that before them, you show them that, well, they're not worthy of your full attention. They're your full person. But in order for us to be able to actually give that, right, we have to reconsider what a successful life looks like. I'm convinced of this, right?
Yeah.
I don't foresee myself as ever being like a rich man.
Yeah.
I just don't like.
Yeah.
You know, I hope we're not in like desperation ever. But but I think that is something that authentically needs to be reconsidered for a majority of us, because the world's kind of voice speaks so loudly in terms of what we need, right?
Yeah.
But we have all these artificial, these created needs and wants, and there's a whole like history and development around that, which I think is chronicled fairly well by Matthew Crawford in a couple of books. But I mean, ultimately, we need to come back to this sense of like, who am I? Like, how am I in the world and before the world, and what do I need from it?
Yeah.
And when we get down to that, you know, you like
Some hard-hitting questions.
really, right? And oftentimes when we answer them like authentically, we find that we need more than we do. But actually, when we begin to kind of, you know, really purify and purge all those attachments, all of a sudden you just have more space for the people, and you're happier, you know. But it's a long
journey, a long process. Yeah, you're much more wise having gone through a lot of this. How is, I guess, I feel like, excuse me, RD is a good job to have as far as balancing maybe with a young family, or is it actually more challenging than what it appears to be?
Well, I mean, ideally we want to make it look like it's not.
Yeah, okay, you're doing a good job then.
I think that there are great things about it, incredible things. The fact that I get to mentor and be in the lives of these students. Like my first year here, I was in the theology graduate program.
Oh, okay.
I did my master's.
Nice. Yeah.
And I had a lot of time in my office. I would do my office hours and nobody would come in because they didn't know me. And I was like, oh man, I can do my schoolwork, you know, and it was much easier to balance. And into the second year, guys would come to
because they start
to chat.
Yeah.
And similar to like the child that I now have at home, it's like, no, you deserve my full attention. Which also means that I have to find other time in order to do this.
Yeah.
Plus, I think that, well, one, not having a front door is its own, you know, kind of cross to bear.
Yeah.
I think the most difficult thing about being an RD has to do with the fact that there is no real divide or distinction between kind of work and just the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that we ought to kind of instill, like, we don't want to fragment our life so that we just kind of live in boxes that we pull out at different times.
Yeah.
We ought to live integrated lives. And so I feel like I'm given a really great gift, you know, because there's not that many kind of jobs that you feel like you can pursue easily where you are able to live an authentically integrated life, right?
Yeah.
Because either you're bringing your work into your home and it's kind of fragmenting your space at home, or you're just, you know, not home.
And it's,
and so, you know, and I think there's a lot to be said that, you know, it is not the you know, Catholics, we champion well the fact that like, you know, motherhood is important and the woman gives herself well to her family, but we don't champion enough the fact that the man has actually been pulled from the home, but his first and primary role as a father is to give himself in the home.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it begs the question, how do you engage in work?
Yeah.
And that's a good question, but we ought to wrestle with that more than we do.
Yeah.
You brought up a good point as far as what is it like working with young people, especially on a Catholic campus. And a lot of them are students, you know, and we're trying to balance a lot of things all at once because we're trying to pursue all of these good things that we have the opportunity to do here. But what is it like being a mentor and being there, and are there funny things, do you look back and you're like, man, I'm glad I'm not this age anymore?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, first off, like, it's such a gift. It is, especially for the majority of the student body. They want to be good. Mm-hmm. They want that which is true, right? We all want that, but we, you make the distinction between the authentic good and the perceived good, right? Yes. Well, so many of our students perceive the authentic good, and they want that. Yeah. And so being able to kind of help them and foster them and encourage them and give them certain boundaries in order to help them run better is just such a gift. Yeah. It's such a gift to be able to be in their lives. So I've loved my time working with all the students. I think it's interesting. I mean, I've read a couple books recently on Jonathan Haidt just released about a year ago, I think. It's called The Anxious Generation. Could be a little longer ago, but basically kind of talking about how this generation has unprecedented levels of anxiety and depression, and where does that kind of come from, and how do we work within it, right? So much of that is kind of like, and for the men it manifests a little differently than for the women, but really fostering this sense of engage, right? Yeah. Engage yourself, be bold, and kind of lean into relationships and vulnerability and the people who are before you, right? Yeah. That changes your life. If you can kind of get people to do that, I feel like a lot of my job is kind of that. It's just getting
that mission out to them to pursue.
Yeah, and giving them the tools and feeling a sense of freedom to be able to do that. Yeah. Granted, I work with a lot of everybody who commits sort of any sort of sanction in my dorm. They come and meet with me. Yeah. But a lot of the guys who end up having to come meet with me and create really good relationships with, which is it's not just all the good kids. It's it's the kids who are struggling because they also want something, right? And you can kind of help to form that and order it and give it direction.
You have a big job, a big responsibility, but I think you understand that, forming young minds. What is your take? So obviously I'm a senior, so I've been here all 4 years and I've seen a lot. I want to get kind of an Artie's perspective on the dating culture, and kind of in comparison to what dating was like in college for you, if you did date, or what it was even during that time, versus what is the Ave dating.
Yeah.
Is it good? Is it bad? Because obviously we're all in it. My peers and I, when we talk about it, we're in the midst of it. Yeah. And so I'd be curious to see an outlook, a perspective.
I think that it's really hard to date in a small town, but I think that one of the primary things that Ave, not the university itself, but kind of everybody that's present here, and I think this is normal for any smaller sort of a community, is just gossip, just talking about everybody else. It makes everybody feel confined by the opinions of everyone else, and so they don't feel a freedom to actually kind of pursue what they feel like they can or they ought, And so I think that, I would imagine that the girls recognize that one of the primary things for guys is that they need to just be bold enough to ask a girl out. I think that what underlies both the guys and the girls' conception of what a date should look like is so kind of radically kind of ordered towards marriage that all of a sudden you've kind of reduced the space between your first date and the day that you take your vows. Yeah. And so I'm not gonna go on a date with you
because I'm committing myself to you.
unless I want to marry you.
Yeah.
That is just so not true.
Yeah. Thankfully not.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. What I really try to encourage people is just go on a date, go on a second date, go on a third date. Yeah. Honestly, you haven't taken your vows until you're standing at the altar. Like I have friends who were engaged, and why they were engaged were called to be priests, and so they, none of this is like, we haven't like set this in like embedded concrete. You're never gonna get it out. Like these are the times, the valued spaces we create to be able to examine and actually engage in an authentic relationship. But that authentic relationship begins with just something that's fun and exciting and adventurous. And that's what we ought to be doing. And I don't think that happens enough. I would imagine it happens to a certain degree with some people, but I think so much of that sense of like it's just a date is kind of suppressed by the gossip and by like the constant chatter. Because you don't feel like anything can be just a date anymore.
If I go on this date, it's publicly committing myself to. And I find there's two spectrums. It's the hang out, we're not going to make this, like this isn't a date. And then it's this is a date for marriage, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you find that it's maybe just with the Catholic culture, or do you find that between your generation and mine, it's changed in our perception?
I mean, there was definitely that sense of, well, granted, I think it's different. I think Ave is a small school, right? There's kind of a bubble effect to Ave, which doesn't exist quite in the same way in other places. Like when I was at CU Boulder, granted, CU Boulder is known for certain things. Then Ave tries its best to hold at a distance, and so I think that like being at CU Boulder, it didn't really matter, and nobody's watching you in that sense because the school's so big, right? Those things are just different here because it's a small school.
It's just small.
And that's, I think, just kind of the reality of it. I think that when it comes to like going on a date, you just really try to be creative. I think it's really important for a guy to be clear, right? Like we need to bridge that middle road that you just kind of gave us the extremes on. And I think that's really important. I think that it's great when the guy stands up and says, like, I think that you're beautiful and I want to take you on a date because I don't know you, but I like you. You know what I mean? That's really healthy for the woman to receive that and say like, I don't know you either, but this could be fun, and I know what it is that I'm engaging in. That's really important. And we need to kind of, I don't know quite how we forge that and pave that way, other than, we really kind of begin to understand what the fire that can be lit from just talking about stuff, and how that's not ours to kind of behold in that way, and to just be bold and to go for it and to do it, because this in the end it just doesn't mean as much as what people think it does.
Yes,
that's very true, and that brings up a good point. I wanted to ask you just advice on what kind of advice do you have for men, but also like what kind of advice do you have for women to know about men or to understand men better, if that makes sense? But maybe I'll start with what advice do you have for men or even young people in general? When you have these meetings and you're trying to shape these minds and form these minds, how are you doing that? How are you forming that?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a line that I heard recently that I think articulates it really well, but it's basically like, love without truth is vanity and deception. Which is to say, truth kind of gives a certain amount of boundaries, right? Truth articulates the actual kind of relationship between how things are and how I think things are, right? And so, if love doesn't work within that, and we don't get to decide what that is, right? We, being human people, are governed by certain things, and we don't get to change those things, right? So we become free when we operate within them. Love also must operate within those things. And so in that sort of holding that mystery of bringing those two together, I think that is the mystery that you have to hold when you're kind of beholding somebody else in, especially they're maybe not best qualities. They're not best circumstances. And so like when they come into my office, well, for one, I always, I ask them their story. I ask them what happened because, well, I heard somebody else's story.
Right.
But I want to know, I want to know what happened for them.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, I can tell a lot by how somebody tells their story. If somebody owns up to something, right? I know a lot that they may or may not know that I know.
Yeah.
And it's not my job necessarily to indicate that I know those things.
Yeah.
I feel like to a certain extent, I'm fishing, I guess, is the way that I put it. There's specific pools, and I know that there are certain things that I want out of those pools.
Yeah.
And so I can ask direct and pointed questions that bring me adjacent to a thing that I want to know, which I already know, but I want them to tell me because there's a benefit in them telling me.
Yeah.
And and so I think, I don't know, when I think about like advice for the student body here, for just like for people who are beginning to be adults. I mean, I think we live in a time that is so driven by fear, right? The Lord doesn't drive us as cattle, right? When you move a cow, I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah.
When you move a cow, you stand behind it, right? And you stand in the opposite direction that you want it to go, right?
Yes.
Why? Because it's afraid of you, and it sees you out of its peripherals, and that's how it kind of organizes itself. But it's not, I mean, it is kind of watching where it's going, but it's more concerned about where you are behind it. God doesn't drive us like that. He calls us like sheep, right? He knows our name, and he calls us forth. And so when we live in a world where we're like, I'm just afraid of not making enough money for my family, you're being driven, right? We have to recognize what are the fears that are driving us. And fears ultimately indicate to us things that we love, right? Because a fear, Thomas would tell us that a fear is basically a sense of perceiving that you're going to lose a good, right? Which is to say, fear indicates to you the things that you think are good.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing. But when we're driven by the fears, we end up places that are not the best places, right?
Yeah.
The Lord wants to bring us to those places, but he calls us, and that's us who has to say yes. And it's going to take us somewhere radically different than we have in mind for ourselves, because we don't imagine very big, ultimately.
Finite minds.
Yes, we're so small, that would be the big thing. I would say, like, stop feeling like you have to figure your life out. That's like such a modern thing, because we figure everything else out, right? Everything is reducible to being figured out. That's not how we work. We're like plants, and there's a lot of stuff around us. But we're going to grow, and we're going to all grow differently, kinda, depending on where we're coming from, and so like it's I don't know, that would be like one of the big things that I would say.
That's really good. I really liked that. Have you always spoken this well? Or is this from your like masters, or like you have a really good knack for bringing in imagery and like symbolism to help convey something? Have you noticed that? Have you always been like that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really sure. I think I think often through patterns.
Okay.
But
That's
I'm not
really good.
really sure.
That's just really good.
It was a thing that I worked on or cultivated something.
Speaking of your masters, I kind of just wanted to ask you a little bit. Had you always pictured yourself doing a master's in theology?
Has
your faith journey kind of been a roller coaster, or just kind of?
So the master's, I had a reconversion. I mean, I was born Catholic, raised Catholic. Didn't really know my faith. And then I had a period of time when I was in 8th grade where interiorly everything collapsed. Like I was pulled out of school, had suicidal ideation, depression, anxiety, like the whole everything. And And I hit the bottom, and then I kind of skipped off the bottom a couple times. And from there, I remember looking at my sister, who was in a Bible study, right, at the beginning of high school.
Yeah.
She was so happy. And I was like, you're happy. I want to be happy.
I want it.
I'm going to join a Bible study.
Okay.
And so there were some seminarians at the time in Denver who so generous with their time that they would take us through Bible studies. And so the new kind of movement towards faith with the encounter and the experience of the person of Jesus Christ, for me, was very much so espoused, but also like the study of Scripture and an understanding of, but I mean, I think that a lot was very much so because it was given by these seminarians who were in coursework, and they're like, oh, the logos. Yeah. I'm like, what is the logos, you know? And so, so that was, ever since then, my longing to kind of come to know the person of Jesus Christ very much so was formed by this grave suffering that I struggled with in middle school, but also through this pursuit of understanding that which is real and true, that which is meaningful, and recognizing that those two are intimately espoused. They are sort of the same pursuit, right? Yeah. Because Jesus Christ himself is that which through everything is made. And so everything is made and understood most truly through him, an encounter with him. Yeah. And so that was kind of like, that was the seed that was sown in my high school time. And then, of course, I wanted to say yes. So I, wandered.
Wow. Yes.
To say.
Naturally.
Yes, for lack of a better term.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's an early point of reversion, and that is very grave for such a young child. And that probably just speaks even more volumes to who you are now today and the character you are. What then, was that at all related to your thesis? What was your thesis on?
My thesis was on the dignity of man's work.
Okay, so it was very nice.
Particularly on the redemptive character of labor. Which, when I was in the seminary, I was introduced to a figure. His name was Peter Marin. He was kind of like the intellectual foundation, if you will, to a lot of the stuff that Dorothy Day did.
Okay.
Yep. One of the things he championed was called Catholic worker farms. They never really got off the ground. Okay. But he understood that the sort of the cultivation of the earth ought to be bound with the cultivation of us spiritually and intellectually. Okay. And that is because we are integrated as a human person, right? Very contrary to anything that's like modern.
Yes.
We don't do good with integration.
No.
And so, but I was really struck by that. And so out of seminary, I went and I worked up at a ranch in Montana and I ran cattle for a time.
That's awesome.
And I think a lot of that was because I wanted the experience of being in creation, of working with that which is truly real, not just the things that we make.
Yes.
And so that those kind of like were the guiding principles, I think, for me as I was really, just being formed by the yes, I guess, more or less.
That's really good.
So I mean,
You've had so many experiences. Have you been, so you mentioned you were adventurous. Do you do like rock climbing, like Colorado type things, hiking, things like that? Because Florida's a little flat for those kinds of things.
Florida is very flat.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up rock climbing, mountaineering.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it all kind of was bound with, so these seminarians, they were the ones who formed me authentically, because I came in pieces, right? And as they were putting me kind of back together, well, they weren't, but the Lord was. He was doing it through them and through their influence, and they were the champions of the true. They were the champions of like the encounter of the person of Jesus Christ, and the champions of encountering nature. And those three are bound together so well. And so I learned to rock climb because I wanted to, and I wanted to experience the real. I wanted to be out and to push myself too. Yeah. And I love the kind of the physical encounter. Yeah. And so we would rock climb, and mountaineer and go
Yeah, that's
camping.
really cool.
And, you know, we had various experiences that terrified my parents.
I'm
And
sure.
many various other ones that they probably don't know about.
Yeah.
Gray hairs to your mom and dad's. Do you have a dream? This is just kind of fun, but do you have a dream to own a farm one day? You know, Ave's pretty small, and obviously with your job, it's not like you can really grow even kind of fruits and vegetables. But do you have a dream to just move out somewhere and have a farm?
Yeah, I mean, yes, that was ultimately my dream when I was building my tiny home.
Okay, yeah.
Was I wanted to purchase a plot of land, park it there,
Mm-hmm.
and then I wanted to build my own house.
Yeah.
And grow my own food. And I think ever since my wife got sick too,
Mm-hmm.
the emphasis on like the need to take in food that is nutrient dense
Yeah.
has become that much more important for me because I know what is actually given and the effect when it's not.
Yeah.
And so I would love to be able to do that. I'm not really sure what my life holds before me.
Yeah.
I mean, here right now, I'm the RD. I also I work with grounds.
Okay.
because
Very nice.
I've done
Right.
electrical work. I've done carpentry work.
You have a little bit of experience.
Yeah, doing various things.
Yeah.
But I work with grounds, but we're kind of working towards this, like continuing to develop. Right now, it's an environmental stewardship program.
Okay.
Something of an ag program. I'm convinced that we need to re-champion how we encounter creation. And that was a lot about my thesis.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's critical. And John Senior, you know, he's like, go in your front yard. You don't have to buy something crazy.
Yeah.
Go and plant stuff in your front yard for yourself, and then all of the beauty that comes from it.
Yeah.
But that being said, I mean, I'm considering pursuing more of the intellectual route. I've done a lot of both.
Okay, yeah,
And,
sounds like it.
I love the formation of men and women. And when I think to myself, how could I do this as a career? I could do that as I could open my own kind of electrical business, and then I could take on apprentices who I could mentor. But I think that, I don't know, to a certain extent, my gifts lie maybe a little bit more in the articulation of what's real, to be able to help people pursue their lives according to the order that God has given us, not necessarily what we want for ourselves. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We
just
don't
knock on
know.
the door.
Yeah, you'll say yes when it comes up.
That's exactly right. Yes.
Our last little segment is rookie rock or flop. And so it's something that I or you have done recently that's kind of adulty, that we've either rocked or flopped. I'm trying to it's been spring break, so luckily I haven't had to do too many adulty things. I do have to spend a little more time working on my own thesis for philosophy, but I wasn't sure if you had anything that you've done recently that's adulty, or do you have any tips?
Yeah, I do. This is something that not all of my RAs, resident assistants, only the ones who are given, which is a good thing. It's a good thing to be given, right? The temptation, though, and most of us fall into it if we are given, is that we're given to too many things, right? And it counteracts our ability to be productive in any of them.
Yes.
At least,
Yes.
And the people, those who are given, those who want those things and tend to pursue them and take on more than they might be able to chew. Something that I've had to start doing, being an RD, having a family, running grounds, doing a master's program, is I make my schedule on an Excel spreadsheet, which sounds incredibly confining, right?
Yes.
Very fragmented.
Yeah, I mean, I live out of different colored boxes, right? But the thing is you would I create a schedule for myself that is over a week, and the sections that I pin out are not things that I have to do. It's space for me to do things. Right? And so if I know I'm going to need specific space to study for this class, then I have to carve out that space, right? If I need the space that I'm going to lay pavers for grounds, I need to carve out that space. And so you're not actually defining what you're doing, you're defining the type of tasks that you will be doing in that time. That allows you to understand how much time you actually have to give to things, because always in our lives, what's going to suffer are our relationships. But those are the things that are the most meaningful.
Of course.
The relationships and our prayer, right?
Yeah.
And so by organizing ourselves like this, one, you become very sober to the reality of like, well, I'm committed to too many things.
Yeah.
And I just can't do that.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, you know?
Yeah.
But it is sobering.
Yes. But I mean, yeah, I could have swore this came from John Henry Newman, but honestly, I don't know. I've never been able to find it, so I don't know if it did.
Maybe it's your own thought.
I don't think so. It's far too good. But we want to flow like a river, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dynamic, moving towards an end.
Yeah.
We flow well. The river only flows well if the banks are built up, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is to say, we have to have definitive boundaries and restrictions to govern the actions that we do if we want them to be done well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we remove those, right? You remove the Excel spreadsheet, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And the water stops moving.
Yeah.
We begin to be stagnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for us to be effective and well, and often to do the things that we don't necessarily want to do, I would say, I encourage sort of the imposing upon yourself, not like utterly strictly, but in such a way as to kind of discipline the time and the space that you give to things so that you can become excellent at the things you want to.
I think that's so true because we're finishing spring break and I'm very much scheduled because I do have a lot of things going on. Yeah. But spring break is a little looser with no classes and not many household commitments because we're out. And I was like, don't have motivation to do things I don't want to do because I have too much time and it's not scheduled. Yes. I waste some of my time. And so I feel that very deeply. Do you have any last minute thoughts before I close this out?
Not really.
Thank you so much for this. This is amazing. There's going to be so many blurbs that I'm going to clip because you're just like really good at speaking. So this was fantastic. So thank you.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course.
Very grateful to be here too.
And thank y'all for joining. There was a lot of wisdom said today, and so hopefully you picked up on that and gained a few more insights into life, into student life as well. But thank y'all for listening. I will catch y'all in 2 weeks. Until then, have a good couple weeks, and God bless. Bye.